What's going on, guys? So a highly requested one is I did the front seats install on my PRP seats a little bit ago, and I worked in all the wiring harnesses from the factory seats into those. So we're going to be doing that again today. We got Brian here with his Jeep. Thank you so much, Brian, for helping out. Appreciate you being able to let me wrench on your Jeep a little bit here. Promise we'll take good care of it. We're going to do his front and his passenger seats. For the most part, we're following the instructions that PRP provides on the slider brackets, so that part's going to be pretty straightforward, but we're going to show a lot of good detail on the wiring. And without any further ado, let's get started. All right, so first things first, to get the driver's side out, Brian's actually got his driver's side seat in there already. We'll take that out, but to get this wire harness out, one of the biggest things we got to do is take these little clips off, kind of de-skin it, because we're going to use this black bracket that's from factory. We're going to use the bracket for all their sensors. All of this good stuff is going to come out. So little movie magic here. We're going to do a quick little cut, and just like that, we got all the clips pulled off here. And actually the tool I used, it's actually just a paint can opener. It's got the nice little hook there. So we just hooked all these little clips, pulled them right off, pulled the skin off, and we're gonna take off the bolts here for the upper back of the seat to give ourselves a little bit more breathing room. Pull all this, and then we'll be able to get that bracket out. So here we go again. All right, so now we got the back off. So literally just start peeling off the skin of the seat here. And as we get everything off, all of a sudden we'll be able to get to that bracket. So we're going to take our little quick clip puller. It's got a nice rubber stop on there, so if we ever need a little bit of torque or a little bit of leverage on it, that's there. We don't have to worry about contacting metal on metal. So we're going to pull these off real fast. All right, so we got the harness out, good to go there. We're going to reuse that metal bracket too. We're going to sort of hide all that inside the webbing of the seats, just so that way everything's tucked up as you're going back and forth, sliding your seats, opening, closing for different drivers. If you're so inclined to let another driver go, you're not going to worry about the harness getting all mashed up for this. So these are sort of snapped onto the wires here. So we're just going to pop those guys off one at a time. Now, since we got that all off, we just lift him up, and away we go. So we got the front seats out. We're going to come in a minute here and add our other bracket in there. But what we're going to do first is we're going to take the holder and the wire harness, and we're going to work it into the seat here. So we're going to do that by sliding that underneath these horizontal ones, and then later we'll do the vertical ones, so everything will clip in place again, nice fixed. All the clips will go back together. So quick little cutaway. All right, now the bracket's underneath here. So you notice conveniently we line up with some of these threads. So we line up with 3 of the 4. The 4th one is right on one of these knots. That's okay, that's not the end of the world. This is still really tight under there. Their PRP does a really good job with their threading and everything for keeping the seat retained. So this is definitely a gentle step in the process, just to make sure you're not loosening anything up. But once you get it in there, just come back behind it. You can hear the snap as the threads go inside our little seat there, inside the clips. Get this last one in. There we go. And again, that 4th one we're not going to be able to do just because it's on one of the knots. That's okay. So now we're going to take our harness. Make sure you're checking the direction to make sure you have enough room to plug in your heated seats and get this clip. This bracket is actually going to go right. Oops, sorry. It's actually on this back one here. So you're going to put this bracket on the back. So make sure everything is kind of towards that rear, make sure everything fits. We'll kind of do a little test fit once we have everything in there, and we'll get it all installed and wired in. All right, so we're back here. We got this bracket. So this comes off of this gray and black connector. There's a little clip right there that you just engage to get that off, lift off of that piece. But then we take this bracket, and almost like it was designed for it, we just drop it right in place there. So no modification needed, sits down in there perfectly. So since we're using PRP's JK rails, this bracket basically goes on top of the existing OE rails, and it has enough room to fit that bracket. So we fit that in, we'll bolt those back in, and then we'll get everything wired up, and we'll have the seat in place to kind of check our fit, and we'll finish up on this side, and then it's on to the passenger. All right, so we got our harness here. We cut off the OE connectors and we spliced in the connectors that PRP provides in their harnesses, so that way we can connect to theirs, something you'll have to do. So now we're gonna feed this all through, again making sure we're leaving room. We'll check our fit and everything, check our depth, and fix everything to the bottom of that bracket once we get in the vehicle. So we have the front seat in here. We just had those back bolts finger started. We're showing off the harness here. So we have our heated seats all connected. We use the factory harness, but use the PRP connectors. We have our body in line here. That'll fit up nicely. We have our seat bracket sensor. And last but not least, we have our factory seat belt receiver. So this is actually, we just use a 1-inch spacer, a 3-inch bolt, couple washers to attach the factory seat belt. We use the PRP bracket, the same hole that the seat connects to put that in there, so that way as you slide the seat back and forth, you don't have to worry about it disappearing. I've seen the brackets too that mount to that foot there. Those will work, but the problem is if you slide your seat forward, all of a sudden you lose that seat belt receiver, and if you stretch that seat too far, you'll engage the safety lock. It won't give out until you unbuckle your seat belt, and even then sometimes it could be a stretch depending where you mounted the seat belt itself. So we're gonna finish this one, tighten everything in there. Brian will probably finish tightening that up, and we'll start tearing apart the passenger seat, because that one has a very unique harness, got a unique feature in there that we gotta be careful of. All right, so we got the passenger seat now. We're gonna take the wire harness out of that. A couple quick things to note. This right here, we have a different style seat belt holder. This is a pre-tensioner, so in the event of an accident, anytime you see a yellow connector, that's a safety harness, that's a safety wire. So because it has a pre-tensioner, which is essentially a firecracker inside of there that'll pull that cable real fast. We'll take a better look at that just to see. But that's a little bit more complicated, so we're gonna make sure we fix it down in Brian's Jeep just to make sure it's not flopping around on him. The other thing inside there is our weight sensor. So a little bit of movie magic here. We're gonna start to de-skin. All right, so we got that skin most of the way off there. Now we're actually gonna flip this over. What you'll notice about the passenger seat, so we see the webbing for the factory heated seats, a little bit of Velcro there, help us see what's going on. And if you look, that plastic, clear plastic there, and the same thing on the other side, those are weight sensors. So we have to carefully remove those. Those are glued in place. So we're gonna carefully peel those out and then feed it through the hole there to be able to get that all out in one piece. Take your time on this one. This is definitely a delicate step. If you damage those, yeah, it's gonna be a problem for you. So we're gonna shut the camera off, carefully remove them, show you what you're working with. All right, so we were able to get these freed up. I'm gonna show you what they look like here. So there's glue spots on them. Again, just take your time removing that. And we actually disconnected it from this side. So we're gonna feed it through the foam here. Now the other thing worth mentioning as this is going on, there's some rings in there. that are holding that skin on. That's why we have to go at it from the back. So that's why you got to remove the whole upper and everything. You take the whole thing from the back. That's where you get the best access. If you don't care about the stock seat, you can cut those rings, you can break them, whatever, tear it all up. But if you're gonna try and reuse them, resell them, whatever, leave them intact. You can do it without cutting those rings. So we fed the weight sensor up. We have everything intact. Removal successful. Cha-ching, achievement unlocked, whatever. So now we're gonna set that aside because the other thing we need out of here, other than the factory harness, is the factory seat belt receiver. Again, said this one was gonna look a little bit different. This is the whole thing you're looking at here. We need all of this to come with us. So I think it's a T50 in there. We're gonna remove that real fast. So we got the bolt out. We fed it through the cushion there. So this whole thing's coming with us. So you're gonna have to undo that connector, feed the harness through, and then follow the same sort of process as we did for the driver's seat. We're taking that whole black bracket, all the harness, everything. All right, so we put the skin back on. We got our bracket, we have our wire harness, we have our seat belt, and of course we have our weight sensor. So this, we're gonna jump over to the passenger seat and show you what to do with this. A little bit more movie magic, here we go. All right, so we got the passenger seat here, and we're gonna take the cushion off here for a second and already sort of laid the sensors out. You want them about midway on the seat. You can, if you want, fix them down, sort of use the glue that's already on there, tuck them into the Velcro, and then mash it all down with the seat. But if you ever take that cushion off and move it around, wash it, whatever, you're gonna be doing that 100 times over. And you feed the connector through there too. So what I use is actually the Loctite flexible adhesive meant for vinyl, fabric, plastic. It'll work on this. It's worked on my seats so far. Been running those around, getting in and out. It's held up pretty nicely. So we're gonna apply a little bit of that, fix these guys down, and then we'll show the wiring for underneath. So we're back to the other side. We ran the sensor. The glue's drying up nicely. So for the wiring, we're gonna need the airbag harness on the opposite side from our adjuster. We need the inline towards the front. We gotta make sure everything reaches. We can get a little bit of space out of here. Now, what you're gonna see is the factory harness again, using some different connectors. So the way we're gonna get around this is we're gonna take the harness that PRP sends for the heated seats, and we're going to use this to determine which one needs, which color needs to go to which. Because if you notice, out of the heated seats, heated cushions, both these wires are black. So if you look at the harness they send though, you got one yellow wire, one black wire. So we're going to use that to find out which one is our signal, which one is our ground, and make sure we're marked off and we're going to the right circuits, because on the factory harness we have a green and a black. So we're going to check that real fast. We're going to write it down for ourselves just while we're doing our soldering, and get that soldered up real fast. So we figured out which one's which. We're good to go. The yellow is going to go towards our green wire, the black will go towards the black. Now something just to note here as you're doing this, make sure that when you're cutting these connectors, you're cutting the proper ones. The ones with this double blue, that's for our weight sensor. Do not cut it. Yellow is our safety, and obviously we don't want to cut the body inline. So make sure you're cutting the ones with the green and the black. Those are your heated seats. Cut them as close to that connector as you can. And then we're going to use a combination of wire strippers and crimp tools and splices and get that all spliced up. We're also giving ourselves a little extra length there. Just again, trying to make sure everything has space to reach. There's going to be a tight fit between the weight sensor and then trying to get back to the seat belt receiver and the pre-tensioner. So give yourself some room to work with on the heated seats. So we got our wire harnesses connected. We got the heated seats all connected. Got our sensors connected, inline's ready to go. We got enough room when we bring that stock seat belt in there. So we're gonna move this over to the vehicle real fast though. Brian is over here connecting the seat belt itself down to the bracket. We're just using the current bolts, existing holes and all that off the PRP brackets. So we'll get that in, do the rear seats, the rear bolts again, get everything started, and this install is almost done. So we got the seat in place, we got our back bolts started again. Everything's looking like it's gonna fit up real nice. We got the seat belt receiver and tensioner in here. Got a little zip tie again, just so it's not rotating around. We don't want it bumping and thumping down the road. We got our weight sensors connected. So last step, we're gonna bolt this down. From here on out, it's pretty much just following their instructions. So that's the wiring portion. It's you know, a couple hours maybe to do it. Just real tedious. Take your time, be careful. Again, with that weight sensor, you don't want to just yank it out of there, because if you damage it, you're out of luck and you'll be singing this little light of mine for the rest of the time. So with that, we're going to close it out. We're going to finish up here, just tightening down some bolts. Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate the heck out of you for letting me use your Jeep for this install. And we'll see you guys next time. I like Jeeps. You guys like Jeeps? Bye.